I just wish you wouldn't have done this.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You are Mr. Cardinal?
Yes, sir.
All the state of Texas versus Robert Anthony Cardinal. You were present with your attorney, Mr. West, and the state's attorney. Earlier, a grand jury indicted you on July 27th of 22 with the first degree felony of aggravated kidnapping. And in the indictment, it reflects that you have four prior convictions going back to 1983, a third degree felony of attempted burglary of a building in 1983 in this criminal district court of Jefferson County, Texas. Thereafter, that case became final. You committed the offense of a second degree felony of forgery. Were convicted in 1987
Yes, sir.
in the 252nd District Court of Jefferson County, next door. After that one became final, you committed the felony of forgery. No, after the first one became final, you committed the offense of forgery, and you were convicted on November 9th, 1987 as that forgery second degree felony earlier. So you had two. You actually had three. A third conviction of delivery of a controlled substance. Three convictions on November 9th, 1987 out of the 252nd District Court of Jefferson County, which were three convictions for offenses that occurred after you were convicted in this criminal district court in 1983 for attempted burglary of a building. And thereafter, you commit the offense here, in this case, on or about June 12th, 2022, of aggravated kidnapping. So you were facing 25 to life, weren't you, as an habitual felon?
Yes, sir.
What, in 1987, those convictions, what were your sentences? Do you remember?
Yeah, had 315 record thing.
That's accurate, Judge.
It's in the PSIs.
And I got a highlight here on something. What in the pre-sentence report? We're going to talk about this in a minute here. There's a forgery in 1987 of 25 years in prison and an escape in 1987, 25 years TDC. Does anybody know anything about those? You see what I'm saying on
Yes,
page 3?
I am aware that he received that, but I don't have the pin packets for those, Judge. His report on his criminal history does show that he received that. And in fact, there's some additional stuff I'll address when it's worth it.
All right, a pre-sentence report has been prepared on this case and by the probation office here at Jefferson County. Have the parties had an opportunity to review it? Any corrections or changes to it?
No, no.
No, yeah.
From the state or the defense? No? All right, then it's made a part of the record for all purposes. So there's a cap of 25 years in prison. Can I see the paperwork on that one, on the pad?
Oh, I'll have it on the pad, Judge. I'm sorry.
Does anybody have a copy of the paperwork?
No, it's going to be on the tablets.
So you just, did the defendant plead just to paragraph 1?
I believe that was the
I need to know for sure.
yeah, I don't know for sure, but I believe that's what it was, Your Honor. 'Cause
Does
otherwise-
the state know? It says plead guilty aggravated kidnap.
I was checking my notes, Judge. I think we only did count 1.
Okay, so he's looking at first degree felony
Right.
punishment,
Correct.
no less than 5,
Up to 25, yes.
capped at 25.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because otherwise if we'd went with the enhancements and you would have much options.
So criminal history here, according to this pre-sentence report, I'm looking at 6 misdemeanors, that not including the 63 Class C misdemeanors. 6 misdemeanors, illegal possession of marijuana in 73, convicted, 6 years probation. resisting an officer. And I don't understand 6 years probation. That doesn't coincide with a misdemeanor case, but
I saw that earlier too. I thought that
then
was,
45 days jail resisting officer, 4 years probation assault. That doesn't make sense either for a misdemeanor.
again, Your Honor, this may be, I don't know if this is.
DWI, 10 days jail, and then evading arrest, 60 days jail, and driving while intoxicated, second, 365. So it's showing 6 misdemeanors, 63 Class C misdemeanors, 18 failures to appear, 16 traffic, 15 parole violations, 10 public intoxications, 2 disorderly, illegal possession of drug paraphernalia. And then we get to the misdemeanors and the felonies, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's showing 8 felonies, including a forgery and an escape, date unknown, 25 years TDC, that we don't know much about, right? Is that out of Jefferson County? You know?
Orange County was forgery escape?
Yeah.
Orange County, Your Honor.
Yeah, only on count, we only went on count 1, by the way. Drug usage here. This drug usage, the defendant advised that methamphetamine is his drug of choice. And that's kind of important because in the criminal investigation concerning the police and court version of the event that resulted in this charge of aggravated kidnapping, the defendant confronted and forced a Hispanic female and a child entering the mall parkway, Parkdale Mall Parkway on East Tex Freeway here in Beaumont, threatened them, approached them with a large knife, told them to go with him. And a witness in this case at the mall stated he was walking in the mall, heard someone talking loudly behind him. He turned around and he observed the defendant with the victims. The defendant was wielding a large knife at them, telling them to go with him and gesturing for them to go outside the mall. Police officers made contact with the defendant at the mall before he was able to leave, apparently. No, they had just left the mall, the 3 of them, and the defendant from the food court toward Dowling when the police saw and arrested them. And the defendant told the officers he had taken methamphetamine about an hour before the incident and that there was something in the meth that shouldn't have been in there. We all see where the problem is. Don't we?
Can I say something?
Yeah, in just a minute.
Okay.
All right. Again, are there any changes or objections to what's in this pre-sentence report prepared by the probation office? All right, then it's made a part of the record for all purposes. What would you like to say, sir, if anything, Mr. Carter?
When I went inside the mall, I had a knife in my hand already. I didn't go in there to kidnap nobody. I went in there to try to get somebody called 911 because I was either tripping out or the guys that stole my phone. That's the only reason why I couldn't call it myself.
Thought you told the police officers you had taken methamphetamine.
I told them I took some drugs. Yes.
They said you
I
said
that.
methamphetamine.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, I think that's.
Well, what do you think methamphetamine can do to somebody?
Oh, man.
Where did you get the meth from?
From the, by Walmart.
No,
Yes.
you bought it from somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, who was that?
His name was Brian.
Brian. Does he have a store there that sells the marijuana, like a convenience store or something? No, he was just an individual on the
Yeah,
street.
he's a homeless person.
Have you bought from him before?
No.
Well, how did you pick him from the 7 billion people on the planet?
Well, see, the deal before, where I was staying at, there's another store right there, convenience store. And he approached me that day, which is like 2 weeks prior, that he has some bets if I wanted to buy some.
So do you think the methamphetamine you bought from him had something in it that made you act weird?
It was really,
You know, there's a way to avoid that.
yeah, I don't mind it.
You think?
Yeah.
You figured that out?
I've been clean a
Good
year
for
and a
you.
half now.
Well, you're not all lost there in your mental ways.
Yeah.
Because, maybe we shouldn't be taking drugs,
Yeah,
especially illegal drugs that, do you understand
yeah.
that you can't blame it on the drug?
No, okay.
You've got to take responsibility
Yes,
for your foolish mistake to rely on drugs for your behavior,
Yes,
illegal drugs
right.
like methamphetamine. But can you imagine what this lady and how old was the child? What they must have been thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what
I mean, this was a little
I feel
child.
bad about it.
The victims, Miss Espinosa had her son, who was he was born in 14,
He was
so
7 at the time.
this was 7, and a baby
7.
in a chest harness.
Yeah, I didn't see the kids at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, you were focused on taking methamphetamine
yeah,
and letting it drive the train.
yeah.
Well, people, I'm sorry for them. I really feel bad about them, but this isn't a public place.
Yes, sir.
That can you imagine everybody in the mall, plus the mall authorities, they're
Yeah.
going, who's going to come here to shop when you got
I forgot.
nutty behavior like you?
Yeah.
I mean, threatening with a knife, my
Yeah.
goodness. A lady with a little child, a little baby she's carrying, and a young child. Shame on you for, you think they're going to forget about that their whole
No.
life?
No, probably not.
No, it'll haunt them.
Yeah,
I just hope someone like you doesn't haunt them for long. I hope
Yeah.
they can get past something for you, like you, because you are what nightmares are all about.
yeah,
You've got a rich criminal history here that I've counted. I mean, we're talking about now 80 involvements of convictions that I'm looking at here, including 63 Class C misdemeanors.
but when I left her, there was nobody around with me and her. I walked off, across the parking lot.
The point of the matter is not only she, but a witness saw you, and the police saw the knife,
Yeah.
and they said, "There, they caught you red-handed.
Yeah.
You can't explain it
No,
away."
I can't explain.
Shame on you for putting innocent people in that public place of business in harm's way by foolish,
Yeah.
irresponsible behavior.
Yes, sir.
We have a deadly weapon right here too, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Under the definition.
And by the offense itself.
Okay, state, what the state saying?
Judge, initially when I got this case, I assessed its value as an appropriate sentence for 50 years. It wasn't until this case came up on one of the trial dockets that I made an option to drop that to a 25-year cap. It is because of this man's age, because my records show that he's 65, and my thought process was that with a 25-year sentence, I can keep Jefferson County safe by him spending the rest of his life in prison. And I'm asking for that. Your Honor has already highlighted all the things that are obvious from the PSI. I will add to that had this matter gone to trial, there was video that shows that he was using the knife in addition, not only to the witness as well as the complainant, but the mall had video which clearly shows him taking the knife, walking this lady out in a threatening fashion that is the result of this crime, along with her children. What's frustrating about his record is what happens with the 25-year sentence, and just trying to figure out why it is that we have a gap in time where he's not committing crimes. To my best ability, it looks like we were safe from him whenever he received the 15-year sentence, because it was that sentence that kept him off the streets and kept him from breaking the law from basically 87 to about 2003. The 25-year sentences he received, I believe, did not happen in the referencing here in 87. What my other records show that I cannot affirm, but I believe is accurate, Judge, is that he received these out of Orange. He received them in 2016. It is from that parole that he basically gets out and then immediately starts committing these offenses again. So the end result is that we're only safe when he's in prison. I can affirm from this PSI, those statements I just made to you. If you look at page 4, he immediately picks back up his drug activity in 22, which he admits under the substance abuse history, which underneath that highlights those matters I was just describing to the court, that he's already been to ATAR, SafeP, went to ISF right before all this stuff happened. So I don't want to beat that. I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm asking that the court assess a 25-year sentence.
Your Honor, I have a
Mr.
couple
West.
points to make here.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I do want to point out the criminal history is extensive. I don't think we can argue that it's not, but I do want the court to note that the last time he was convicted of a felony was in 1987. It looks like from the report here. So he's had 36 years of not having am I wrong on that, Your Honor?
Well, he had some misdemeanors, didn't he?
No, I said felony. I said
Yeah,
felony.
okay. But he's still
Well, yeah.
He's still
his last felony was
criminal. He's still committing
1987.
criminal acts at a pretty steady pace.
Yeah, and his last misdemeanor, just to be fair, it was in 2016. So, but his last felony was in 1987. Your last offense date, I guess, conviction. I don't know what date that actually was. Because that's 25 years that we're not sure about when it happened.
2016.
16, but the offense was from 1987. It looked like. So,
Yeah, that's right.
Your Honor, he was offered. It looks like he's done 2 probations in the past, Your Honor. This is back in the 70s. A 4-year and a 6-year, and I know it's under the misdemeanor, and that's unusual, but that's what it says here, Your Honor.
That is odd. That's
I don't know what that means and what that's for, but that again is the 70s and before any of us are practicing law. For you too, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. I thought it was way before you as well. But Your Honor, he's never had an opportunity to do probation and to get some help and some treatment under a probation. So that's one of the things I'm going to argue for. The other thing I'd like to point out on page 4 is his mental health, Your Honor. He has been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and bipolar all in 2012. I'm
Hold on,
sorry,
Tex.
I
You're
got
speeding in
really
your
fast.
speech. Yeah, you were
He
doing
was
100
diagnosed
words a minute.
with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and bipolar in 2012. He is on several medications. We have them listed here. I'm not even going to try to say these medications because I'll never say the right name, but they're listed in the PSI, Your Honor. I think that's significant to understand his mental health. Another thing I wanted to point out is on page 5 under the TRAS screening, he's a low risk, which is something we don't normally see. Usually everything's medium, high, or high. So they determined he's a low risk here. So I understand with his criminal history and his drug use that he's not a candidate for probation. But I'd argue that makes him a candidate for probation in the sense that maybe this is someone who needs some guidance finally in his life. And like Mr. Ham said, due to his age, to keep him under guidance and under control and under the watchful eye of this court and the probation department to see if he acts right. Because we know that he can act right. Now, whether he was in prison or he was out doing what he's supposed to do, we have big gaps. Like Mr. Ham said, that he was not committing crime. And I know some of that's why he was in prison. I understand some of that is, but not all of that was why he was in prison. So I would argue.
Well, now my question is, and you do a great job with what you do, but sometimes you really don't have a lot to work with. And the problem is with that argument is all it shows is he can commit a first-degree felony after he's been acting well, because he's been in jail since this. So he was out terrorizing the people. You terrorized this lady and the people around her.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at a mall, at Parkdale Mall, and that was after he was doing good thing, making good decisions, but yet he still chose a bad decision. Methamphetamine, you know better. You went and sought it out. You bought it off the street. You knew it was high risk behavior, and a lady and her infant child and her young child and other people in the mall were all put in risk of serious bodily injury. What else?
But I would be arguing for requesting the court to consider probation in this case, or and even if the court wanted to give him deferred probation, not for the purpose of keeping it off his record, because I think his record speaks for itself, but in order to have a bigger punishment range to use if he steps out of line, then you have a bigger punishment range than 25 years. If the court is not inclined to give him probation, then I would request a lower sentence based on the fact that his age and I know Mr. Ham's idea is to put him into prison for the rest of his life. I would request us put him in, if you're going to put him in prison, at least give him some life left at the end of this. I'm not sure if he wants to.
Okay, would you like to say anything, sir? This is your opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I would very, very much like to, I'm so, right now,
That's all right. Take your time.
I know I did something crazy, you know, and it makes me think about it all the time. And I don't know what to say. I mean, I wish I could apologize to the lady, you know.
Yeah, but
I know, but I understand.
you can't undo,
Yeah, I understand that.
you can't walk back in time.
Yeah.
What I wish is that you would have made a better choice before you ran into those
Yeah, I
nice
mean,
people.
You can look at my records. There's been nobody ever injured since I was a kid. I never put nobody in the hospital. I never beat nobody up. I never robbed nobody. I never did any kind of sexual acts. All I did was get high, and it's been a problem of mine for 50 years. You know, I didn't have a good childhood, and I spent 30-something years in prison already. Probably about 35 years in prison. And I can do that. I'm institutionalized.
Okay.
You know?
I'm looking at your criminal history, but look, committing a crime is just not a solitary offense where you only hurt yourself.
Yes,
You
sir.
hurt yourself, but you hurt other people. I mean, drug trafficking would not exist if people like you weren't willing
Yes,
and able to pay for it
I understand.
and buy it. There wouldn't be a market for it.
Yes, sir.
Resisting an officer is an act of violence and physical assaultiveness. Assault is harming or threatening harm to somebody. Driving while intoxicated. Everybody on the road, it's a 4,000-pound missile. You are driving irresponsibly,
Yes, sir.
and people end up being killed by others. It end up in this court
Yes.
as defendants who
Yes.
caused harm to others. So it has its harm. Burglaries. I mean, you break into somebody's home, that's sacred to them. That's the most expensive thing they
Yeah.
own. You know, you're not showing an appreciation to people's lifelong expense and investment. Forgery. Your forgery hurts somebody.
Yeah.
Someone is losing and being misused financially. Okay, so these are not victimless crimes here, sir, and this last one certainly is. I have a letter from you that was part of this that the court has read. Did you want to add any? And it's pretty much what you were telling me before.
Yes, sir.
Anything else anybody wishes to add? If not, I'm going to find in Mr. Cardinal, you have pleaded guilty today voluntarily. You are mentally competent to do so. You understand and appreciate the consequences of pleading guilty. There's sufficient evidence supporting your guilty plea from State's Exhibit 1 at your plea hearing to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of this first-degree felony of aggravated kidnapping. I now find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of this first-degree felony of kidnapping. I am following this agreement. You are hereby sentenced to confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve a term of 25 years. The judgment shall reflect an affirmative finding that a deadly weapon, namely a knife, was used in the commission of this offense. These are not easy decisions for judges to make, But when you look at your rich criminal history and the circumstances of this terrible act of violence perpetrated on these people in in one of the largest public places in this area, you, sir, have put yourself in this position again, as you know, by electing to purchase illegal drugs on the street like methamphetamine, which, as you know from your experience, can corrupt your thought process. But nonetheless, you are responsible for what actions that are taken during the course of that illegal activity. I find this to be fair and just in a sentence based upon the circumstances of this case and your criminal history. I just wish you wouldn't have done this.
So,
But we all feel a sympathy toward the poor people who had to endure and are left with a lifelong horror of having to relive what you elected to put them in through your bad choices.
Thank you all so very much for watching to the end. Please subscribe and drop a like if indeed you did enjoy. I hope so. Until the next time, I'm off to feed those cats. And if you want to see another cool episode of mine without all the mandatory stuff, then click on the episode on screen now.